You alluded to it earlier, though, like with your son's health and in the hospital. Briefly, could you just kind of touch on that, explain that? And then my follow-up to that is really, was this sort of the beginning of more of the vulnerability, of the honesty? Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. How old is he?
Yeah, so he's 15 now.
Okay. Because 2000, I couldn't help but think, I wonder how old he is, because around 2016 you withdrew from the band, and and I think that maybe was the time that you used to sit in that space. So I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I couldn't help but wonder if 2016 had anything to do with your son.
It did, for sure. Yeah. So in 2010, we found out that Bowen had a severe heart disease, and he really only had half of his heart. So to find out that your kid only has half of his heart, while still in utero, was like, okay, well, what do we do? And they told us it wouldn't grow, but that he could possibly live if he had 3 open heart surgeries after he was born. And so that season, even like from April to September of 2010, after we found out, just sitting, feeling kind of helpless, going to different specialists and doctors and trying to figure out what to do. And that was a crazy time, because the biggest piece of advice we got from a lot of the specialists was just like, end your pregnancy, and that, as I was a father, as someone who, has a biblical worldview and a relationship with the Lord, was like disheartening to me, because I'm like, no, I don't want to end this child's life. I want to fight for this child's life. Yeah. And that's what I'm called to do as his father. And so we just started pulling people around us and to pray. And I started a blog called Bowen's Heart, and just ended up, like Caleb was talking about, and all his radio stations across the country. We had like 1 million people come to the blog that year.
Golly.
And it was wild, just the people who came around us. But after he was born, it was tough, man. It was hard. And I don't know if we could have, God would have gotten us through, but I know that also the prayers of all those people carried us through. It was like over 2 months in the hospital. And so first surgery, we almost lost him. He had one evening where after one of the surgeries, he actually coded, his heart stopped beating, and he was basically dead for 45 minutes almost, except for the fact that there was a nurse like just pumping his heart to try to keep him alive.
Wow.
And so the Lord really gave in that moment. That mystery of why he gives and why he takes, like, I don't know. It's hard sometimes when you talk about miracles, like for me, because I'm like, for us, that was a miracle. Yeah. But I also know there's a lot of people who like don't get the miracle, but so we don't take it for granted at all that God in that moment gave us that miracle of keeping our son, and been through 2 other surgeries even after that. And so it's been a real journey with Bowen, not just having the feelings of how do I navigate sickness? How do we navigate moments of crisis together as a family? But then also, like, how does that impact my other kids, and how it's impacted my marriage, and how the grief of having a sick child and going through those moments really puts a marriage through a fire. I think there's some studies that say like 70, some are above 70% of couples with kids with chronic illness divorce.
Yeah.
And I think part of that, at least for Sarah and I, where I could see like, oh, this is how people can get pulled apart, is you just grieve and process so differently throughout. And because you grieve and process in different ways, it can be hard to understand the way the other person grieves.
Oh man.
And so you're grieving differently than separately. Then you've got all this tension that like you become not intentionally angry, but you can almost become angry that like, I need a partner and they're not meeting me here in my grief in the way that I need to be met, and vice versa. And so now there's that whole chasm between you of how you deal with it. And then the pressure, that pressure cooker too can just cause that explosion at times, well, I need this from you and I need this from you. And for Sarah and I, it was actually, she was at the bedside 24 hours a day, solely focused on his health, which was amazing. Cause I'm like, okay, mama bear. Yeah. But there were times when I needed her as her husband together for us to like get together, even for an hour. Let's go have lunch. Let's go walk. Let's like just get our heads together to take this on as a team. She felt like, that was selfish of me to ask her to like step away, even for a moment, for fighting for our son. That she thought, well, you should be here too, 24 hours a day, you know, like right here fighting as hard, or is the man harder than me? But I'm like, that wasn't the way I knew how to fight. Yeah. And for me, I was like, I also felt like I didn't know where to find my space in that, because she was so front and center and all that I'm like, I don't know what other question to ask. I don't know what other thing to do here. And then I would go in the afternoon sometimes to the hospital and process, like I'd write the blog. That was my way of fighting, keep our family and friends updated, invite people to pray, build a community of people who gathered around us in prayer. And she, you know, she thought, well, how can you go do this, you know, and not, and so it's like, and so in those moments, it was just like,
she was resentful for you not showing up, and you were resentful to her for not showing up.
Exactly.
And there's that alienation, that separation, which is just nasty, really.
It's so much pain, and you're already
feel that. I have felt that.
Yeah.
And
exactly. Similar, and in other similar situations, people feel that same tension.
Yeah.
And so navigating that on top of a sick kid, you know, was just a gnarly season of life, man.
Yeah, dude.
But out of it, we've got a 15-year-old kid now who the doctors, not all the doctors, but several doctors told us would break our family. And God used that brokenness to make us more whole.
Yeah.